Hello. I'm here. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing here. You know, sometimes you get confused. You click some buttons. There's a map. Sometimes the map reaches into your head and you're like, I'm gonna click a button and then you're here. So it happened to me. So you want the loaf song? They can play the loaf song. I don't remember how. How do I play it? Oh, I think I have to click this.
Welcome to the perpetual show. Where the loaves go, we've got flow. Oh yeah. Driving through the fields of green, oh so bright. With the loaf by your side, everything feels right. Loafing through the fields, feeling so alive. In our boxy Russian van, we're taking our stride. Past the fallen soldiers, a bittersweet sight. But we're cruising on this road tonight. Bouncing to the rhythm, calypso in our soul. The loaf's engine purring as our story unfolds. We're singing and we're dancing, the sun shining above. The loaf takes us places where we find love. Loafing through the fields, feeling so alive. In our boxy Russian van, we're taking our stride. Past the fallen soldiers, a bittersweet sight. But we're cruising on this road tonight. Bouncing to the rhythm, calypso in our soul. The love's engine purring as our story unfolds. We're singing and we're dancing, the sun shining above. The loaf takes us places where we find love.
I'm back. I hope you liked the loaf song. It was requested. Anyways, I don't really have a plan on anything to talk about. I'm honestly just tired. We had two of the biggest news days in a row. It always seems to work that way. Whenever there's a huge news day, the next day is just like, absolutely enormous, usually bigger. And that's what happened. So like 2 days ago was like the biggest ever, and then yesterday was even bigger. So I'm just like mentally tired. So I'm procrastinating, and here I am. Yeah, I don't really want to. I didn't want to tease people. I didn't want. I don't know. I'm just here. You know. There was no planning. It was like I was sitting here. I was looking at the work I have to do, which is a lot. And I was like, what if I just like did a stream instead? So here I am. This is the stream. Um. Anyways, so like, there's no good news. Everything is awful. If you hadn't noticed, like everything's bad. Uh, and it's getting worse every day, basically. Um, most recently, there was this Russian attack here. I'll turn off that crosshair. There's this. I'm gonna turn off the tooltips too. Okay, so most recently there's this attack north from you know to the east of Hulipola, and anyway, just moving on north. This is like basically undoing uh Ukraine's counteroffensive last year. Like basically just undid it all in one day, which is impressive. So the counteroffensive last year started around here, and now they're basically back to there. So A plus, A plus. Actually learned shortly, just like 2 days before the counteroffensive started, I learned that Ukraine was like right here. So like, no, they were like right here. Yeah. So like, and I hadn't known that. Anyway, but it doesn't even matter anymore, does it? So so yeah, this is all doing great. They're probably gonna push up here too, and just kind of like everything is going awful. Most we also see Dolnia, or however this is pronounced, Dolne, yeah, whatever. Dolnia. This is basically, it's basically Gonzo, which is like awful. We had a leopard in there shooting stuff, which was pretty cool. The leopard wipe just wipes the floor with this column of vehicles. Well, actually, those explosions, we don't actually know what those were. They're probably like some sort of like remote bomb or something. I probably shouldn't say that word. But anyways, they all kind of exploded at the exact same time. Like it just went boop, 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 and it looked like it was human controlled maybe. And then the leopard was kind of like going poop poop over here, boop boop, going boop boop on the nose with its gun, and I was having fun. Okay, so but anyways, the bad news, and to me this is like so gut wrenching that Russia is here. Because like this position here, like this tree line, this was the fallback position for the Ukrainian artillery. This was their fallback position for the artillery. Okay, so like the main artillery was like operating like here, and then like if they had to, they would like fall back to like here, and sometimes here. So the Russians are in their artillery positions, so that's wonderful. And yeah, there was a if I remember right, there's a trench that goes like here, like a vehicle trench, anti-vehicle trench. Not that it really matters anymore, but anyways, so the Russians kind of went around it, I guess. Anyway, so this is all kind of a disaster. All kind of a disaster. This whole area, this here is another kind of nightmare. Antonivka is basically lost. Everything around it is surrounded, basically. And they lost their artillery positions that were guarding all of this stuff. So the artillery is going to have to be pulling back, like back here somewhere, probably. And I'm not even sure if these positions are in artillery range anymore. These are only 105 millimeters. Like, how far is this? So, like, yeah, they're like out of range now, basically. They're like out of range of artillery. So I assume, well, whatever, they're surrounded anyway, so they're probably gonna all be withdrawing. So it's all very bad. It's all very bad. Hi. Hi, Ellen. So, Ireland is here. And, I don't know what to say, Ireland. I'm just here. I'm just here because I don't feel like working today, to be honest. So I was just kind of like started to stream. So, what do you think, Ireland? Is everything awful? Everything's awful.
Yes,
Everything's terrible.
a lot of things are
Yeah.
also
It's true.
a lot
True.
of Russians.
We even know some of their names.
The Schlitter is cool.
Yeah.
Dude, if you had time, the kind of just gold because so much.
Yeah, because yeah, you have, yeah, like yesterday. Um, yesterday we learned of Pavel, right? So he was part of this assault here. I can't remember. I don't know which part. There's one assault in the north and one in the oh wait, no, I was wrong. Sorry. This here. So one assault was in the north and one was in the south. So I don't know which one he was part of, but he was he was in this as greater assault. And this guy, he had a like newly born baby, right? Like she looks like she might be like like 10 months old or something. And he was like, you know, it's a great idea. I'll join the army and join the infantry and assault in a vehicle assault. So he was like, instead of raising my baby, I'm gonna get in a vehicle and YOLO it towards Ivano Darivka.
This is
and Pavel, he didn't make it. He didn't make it. He see the thing is that his family watched the video. See, like we mapped this video, right? There were a few videos actually. We mapped these videos, right? So there's like these videos where all these, you know, vehicles were exploding and whatnot. Like those videos, right? And then there's like the other video where they're like more up here and they're kind of exploding. Oh, whoops. Why didn't that work? They're more exploding up here. See? They're like boom boom boom. So yeah. Well, I'm not showing you. Anyways, he was we don't know which one he was in, but we know that his family watched the videos and the family is very concerned. They said looking at those videos, it's unlikely many people survived, but we keep hearing rumors that the attack was a success, even though the brigade was obviously destroyed. And we're curious if Pavel is still alive, and if any of you see him, can you give us a call, please? And then they left like a number or whatever.
only what
No, it's on VK. VK. I don't know. Oh, it's Ukrainian. Well, I've never seen a Russian video about this. It's Ukrainian.
some
No, well, no. This was just the family asking if you see Pavel, tell him to
yeah,
call
but if
us.
they've seen the video, they post okay or just
No, this was just like a text. Yeah, and then they posted pictures of Pavel. I have pictures of Pavel. Should I show one? The I don't know. Should I post? Should I show a picture of Pavel? We have a few. We have two. We have two. Oh, they can't hear you. I always forget about that bug. It's been so long. Um, see, the plus side is they think I'm crazy that I'm just talking to myself now. So anyway,
What? Geek is not here.
yeah, okay. So it's true. Gik is not here. So here's Pavel. There he is, and I'm not gonna show the other picture because it shows him holding the baby, and I don't really want to show the picture of the baby because you know it's a baby. But that's him. If you imagine him holding a little tiny baby that's like this big, that's the other
But
picture.
where are you posting this, man?
What? You know that I'm doing a live stream.
No, you didn't say this to me.
You just joined the live stream chat.
Well, anyways, the story is amazing, man.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry for the newborn. Not so sorry for him.
He knew what he was getting into. He signed up for it. He was apparently he wanted the money. But anyways, what's interesting is that you didn't know you were on a live stream, but also they couldn't hear you, so it's like a win-win, right?
That's a win-win, I guess. But can they hear? Can they hear me now?
Yes.
Ah, okay. The comment section are probably
Anyway,
little
they're
bit confused.
asking who you are. You're Erland.
hello.
You want to introduce
Long
yourself?
time no see. Long time no see to the stream chat.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, so that Pavel. Anyway, Pavel, he bit the dust up there, most likely. We also have some names of people who are not surviving Kursk. They've done a number of assaults with massive casualties, my dude. Like we're talking like 70 vehicles lost in these assaults. 70. Can you imagine losing that many? Can you imagine like a NATO country attacking and losing 70 vehicles in like 3 days?
No.
It'd be like half the army for some of these NATO countries to lose like because you have to imagine it's probably like 1/4 tanks and like 3/4 APCs.
I
So
mean, my country has 50 tanks.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
there, there you go. One assault.
yep. So anyway, they've been doing these attacks coming from the north mostly, and also coming from the west. So yesterday, we oh my god, my scroll wheel is on like hyper mode. So anyway, so in in this town here, I forgot the name. Is it Darino? I feel like there's another word, but I forgot what the word is. Anyway, so this town here. The Russians were in it yesterday. They've probably been there for like 2 or 3 days now. I don't think they captured it. It's just kind of they're fighting back and forth for it. Um, uh, Novo Ivanivka. This town they've been going back kind of back and forth here too. We had a video of a Bradley assault in this little forest here, and now we have these little Russians like sneaking around and trying to be sneaky. Um, but we do know that the Russians have controlled this area to the west of the highway here, probably for a week or maybe 2 weeks. I was always kind of too chicken to map it that way. I was pretty sure it was true, but I wasn't 100%. The Russians were claiming that they controlled the entirety of the main part of the village, but that the Ukrainians controlled the eastern part. And that's kind of like how I have it mapped now, I guess. But anyways, so this whole Kursk area is getting kind of silly, especially this kind of northern part where it looks like if you just look at the map, it's like this is insanity. Like how is Ukraine holding this northern part? It's so skinny, but it's actually really well defended. And the Russians are very frustrated. They've been trying to cut off the neck of this weird thing that's growing out of here, this appendix. But they can't like get rid of it, at least for now. So, but anyways, we've learned some of the names of the soldiers up here because they're already posting MIAs for these attacks that only happened like 3 days ago, which is pretty amazing. We know the names of people here. Uh, yeah, maybe even some of them are Korean. Maybe. Yep. And then to the eastern part, just south of Sucha, really. Some Russians kind of like came up on a rowboat. They kind of like just paddled up the river and disembarked and got wrecked. Oh, did they get wrecked? Those guys, none of them survived. 100%. 100%. I don't want to say that word, but none of them lived. Fantastic. With the casualties that they're taking, it's kind of amazing that they can keep going. I've heard some people speculate that Russia will be losing 2,000 people per day by the end of the month. Uh, and that's actual losses, not the propaganda losses that get published a lot. where they kind of inflate the numbers. People are like actually speculating, and I don't mean like random people. I mean like intelligence people, like people who study the Russian military and this war very closely. They think that Russia will be taking, in actual reality, 2,000 casualties per day by the end of the month, which is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. I don't believe when Ukraine says that they've been like the other day they said they took 1,700 casualties. I don't believe the Ukrainian numbers, to be honest. I always kind of like cut it in half. But Russia's ramping up and they're sending more and more people into combat. And the reason they're sending more people into combat is because they're attacking literally everywhere simultaneously. So they're attacking in Kupiansk, they're attacking in Siversk area. They're attacking. There was a massive attack on Chasiv Yar today. Huge numbers of infantry, like a whole battalion worth of infantry or something like that. Like many hundreds of just massed charge, basically. And they're attacking in Toretsk, where they've advanced in Toretsk into like kind of the middle of the city here, which is kind of really bad news actually. Yesterday was like one of the worst news days we've had for Toretsk. It's just awful. And then of course they're attacking in this whole area around in the south of Donetsk. They're about to capture basically all of this southern part and probably enter Dnipropetrovsk soon. Anyways, another thing that's been going on recently is just Constanza. I'm doing a
Hey.
live stream, Constanza. I
Oh,
don't know.
right now?
Yeah, you can talk if you want. Do you want to talk about what you've been doing with us?
I can talk about that, but really I'm so outside of what people want to know and
I
watch
think
your live stream.
I think people would be interested.
Alright. But I'm sorry, I have the stupidest excuse. I left my headset in the company. and I need to buy a second headset. I just realized that.
Okay.
And I think I'm just on the phone right now, and that's awkward.
Okay. Well, basically, what Constanza does for us is that she makes tools for us. For example, she's made us a breakdown tool to help us break down videos and analyze the videos. Also, a screenshot tool to help us do screenshots. She created a bot for us that helps us map news events using some AI stuff. And those are all the things she does for us. She makes our lives easier. And it's nice. Thank you.
Very, very welcome. I love to help and keep the daily list alive.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you have questions or wanna
Yeah.
learn a bit about the technical stuff, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think people don't realize how many people that we have doing stuff and how many different types of things that we do.
Yeah.
And you are definitely one of the ones that is in the background that people don't really hear from.
And I also didn't realize how many different things you do until
Yeah.
I was in the middle of the project. So yeah, and I keep learning. Yeah.
So we I don't know. So yeah, so I don't know where to start. I really don't know where to start. Because what I'm curious about is I think most people don't realize how much we do. Because we don't necessarily publish everything we do, because not everything we do is meant for publishing, right? So um, some of it would be dangerous to publish, frankly, because it could be literally used to make weapons, and we don't want that. We don't want to make weapons because we're we're more into the journalism part and not so much into the weapon development part. So uh yeah, so and also some of the stuff that we do, I kind of more enjoy handing it to people behind the scenes to help them do things. So like for example, with Kherson, we've been gathering data about like the attacks on civilians there for a year and a half or so. Um, and we've been feeding that data to other journalists so they can write things, like write articles and stuff. But you have been helping with all of these things, and I'm just curious from your perspective. What do you think of it?
I kind of think this news part, there's really, it means a lot to me, because it shows how crazy that all is, just in this pure amount of every day having those bombings and civilians getting hurt, and it keeps coming up. And what maybe a bit technical, what we do is this news are usually from officials from Ukraine, some kind of governors or whatever, and then they are kind of fed to an AI, and the AI takes out, it extracts only the pure information, and this makes it very awkward because it's like it's without any emotion, without any judgment. It's just a huge amount of a daily stream of horrible things happening, and it makes me feel very, very sad. And yeah, that's
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. It's like a stream of horrible things. It's it feels like never ending. Like it's like literally hundreds of events per day of just all bad news. Well, I have been trying to put a few good news in there every once in a while, but it's almost entirely bad news. There was some good news today, though. It wasn't too important, but they um kind of in this region right here. I know you can't see it, but this kind of region right here of Ukraine, they've been installing water for local residents to drink in various ways. Because one of the things the Russians did when they attacked is they destroyed the entire water infrastructure. Um, they destroyed. There used to be like a water pipeline um, that would feed water to here, and also they got a lot of water from the reservoir that is obviously destroyed because the Russians destroyed the dam. So the reservoir went away, their pipeline went away, and they had no more access to water. So over the past, well, ever since the Russians left, one of the first things the Ukrainians did when they showed up, they started rebuilding the pipeline.
I have arrived.
There's Kick. They started rebuilding the pipeline, and now they're installing new types of water to these people. So that is the one good news. One good news story. Everything else is bad. So Gik's here. Gik, do you wanna talk about what Constanza what she has done to help us?
Hello. You're streaming?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And I come in here with my stupid announcement message.
me too.
You know, everyone is just joining without knowing Andrew is on the stream because he's in the wrong chat. So, but he thinks he's in the right chat.
I thought I was until Constanza joined.
Yeah, I guess this is more casual. But yeah, Constanza, explain yourself. What did you do to help us?
We already been through that. Ask your questions.
Oh, what? I should ask your questions, or what?
Yeah.
I can't come up
Or
with
say
something.
something.
Okay. Well, I came in here to complain and to kind of doom, but now that we're on stream, everything is great.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I can say
I
that.
had an idea, maybe. I don't know what you think, but I actually joined to discuss this idea. Well, we do a bit also send the videos through AI and to detect stuff, and that's a little bit experimental. But I think I can kind of detect dead Russians. Pictures of dead Russians. Now, this is really, really, really cool, but I think it's better to let the AI detect the pictures than you guys. And I wanted to kind of bring this idea in the room, and I don't know if you want to do something with that. I mean,
What do you think, Kick?
I'm sorry I didn't listen. I was distracted by a message I got on Telegram.
She wants to count the deceased Russians with AI.
and I maybe also have pictures about them. I think it's a sensitive topic because, well, for sure there's some relatives looking for their missed brothers or husbands, or I don't know.
You know what I would love? I mean, there's of course databases of missing people, and Geschlitter is going through that, daily. What I would love is, if some random Russian family posts, "Oh, I'm missing my 26 children, which all have been sent to Ukraine," and we have a deceased person, I would love to match it and then, let them know, listen, here are your 26 children. At least, they turned into 35 children because, well, it's hard to, match the parts of your children together to be sure it's just 26 or 25 or whatever.
Yep.
So, yeah, matching missing faces to, dead persons is, or sleeping persons. We're on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. So with your AI,
Yeah.
do you want to identify them or take pictures of them? Because I thought you meant just identify them, but then you're talking about pictures. Do you want to take pictures of them too?
Actually, picture. I think as identifying them would be
don't-
the pictures are bad quality, and yeah, I think that's we don't have the means to that.
I
So
don't
no.
I don't mean identify them as a person. I mean in the video.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah. I mean,
But would AI just, I mean, we know that AI detects if a person is sleeping on video, but is it reliably detecting it? Because, like, if we count, we can have AI make mistakes.
No, I'm not really, unfortunately. It depends on, I mean, reliable is also relative. It just has to reliable as a person. And the person is also not 100% reliable, but
what do you do if a person is sleeping? Then a drone comes to wake it up, and then that person is sleeping even more. And then it shows something else, and then the person is sleeping on the side of the screen. So you have 3 times the same person, very sleepy. But we should count only one sleeping person.
I think that would be possible within limits. I can set up an experiment, and then you can judge if it's reliable enough or not.
okay. Hi Mathis. We're streaming Mathis. Anyway, I just got asked a question by someone who has quit Twitter, which just seems smart. It's wise. They asked if we're still counting the people, and yes, we are. We're still counting the people. And not only are we still counting the people, but you said that you're seeing are the list that we put out every day. The list has the count in the list if you zoom in the top left. It's in text, but you see it, you can read it. The list also has a link to the website that you can watch the sources if you want to. Anyways, Geek. Everything is terrible. Is there anything you want to add to that? Would you like to talk about Kursk? People are asking about Kursk.
Well, Kursk, you know, it's kind of like Schrodinger's Kursk. On the one hand, Ukraine is giving up terrain quite significantly. Russians have been spotted in a lot of places, which indicates that Ukraine has been pushed back quite significantly. At the same time, the investment needed for the Russians to do just that is quite immense. I think Ozentua, so Kriegsforscher on Twitter, he posted today that just in the last 5 days, there are 77 destroyed vehicles just on his watch or what he has on camera. This should give you a perspective. And every day we see more and more videos, which, tell the bad news of, Russians have advanced further. But at the same time, they fall asleep so much. So, that's what I'm saying. It's Schrödinger's Kursk. From a strategic point of view, I guess the question is, how long does Ukraine want to hold the terrain there? In my opinion, given the election in the US and every pressure that's now growing on negotiations, holding Kursk might be significantly more important than people portrayed it to be a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
But at the same time, we see fronts collapsing pretty much everywhere right now. It's a tough spot. And if you pull back in Kursk, it doesn't mean that it's over in that region, right? That's the next thing. Doesn't mean that the Russians just want to have their border back, because they build up significant potential and they are growing there. They're sending more units to Kursk. One is coming likely from Zaporizhia, and it's one of their better forces. It's a lot of VDV.
I think they're best. I think that group, that brigade, is their best out of everything they have.
Yeah.
Just having watched them fight, the way they fight is the most sophisticated.
Yeah. So and you will have that potential at your border. So for an in and out, it's probably it's probably not possible anymore, in my opinion. You probably need to hold this out and try to make them bleed for every meter. And then, we will see once their current offensive potential maybe comes to some certain culmination point, then you will have to see what kind of potential you have on your own to maybe reverse some of that. But it's hard to predict, because Ukraine made mistakes in Kursk. They were easy to defend areas which they had lost far too easily, which collapsed basically an entire flank, and also the perspective of the Klushkova area. And then you had some more or less stubborn and way too early push into the Klushkova area, which reduced Ukraine's offensive potential in that area like so much. More or less 2 brigades got mauled there, which is there were so many stupid mistakes. Yeah, there were so many stupid mistakes which you just can't make if you have if you have the limited resources and capabilities that Ukraine currently possesses. So you just got to be smarter. And now it's it's gonna be hard, and you can only hope that they fall asleep in too large quantities.
If they either should have not done this Western attack, or they should have done it this exact same time. One or the other. I really don't understand why they didn't attack here at the same time. They had the forces to do it. It's like they were trying to set up a distraction, like somewhere over here, that they're like, "Ooh, we could attack over here," woo, 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 and then they never did, and now they regret it. Too bad. Anyways, so the Russians have been claiming that, not recently, but like what was it, like 2 days ago, that every town that they claimed to have captured, Ukraine took back within a day of their attack. So it could be that Ukraine does actually control more than they currently do. Although then, subsequently after that statement, Russia then started attacking in much larger numbers again. So it could be that Ukraine had them and then lost them a second time.
Okay, but you want to know something?
I'm
If
scared.
I'm not entirely stupid, it looks like Magyars in Kursk area.
I think he's in both.
Yeah, but he just released a video of, Russian vehicles exploding left and right. So,
Yeah.
It's gonna ruin our day, but it's gonna be nice to look at.
Yeah, I think Madhyar has half his guys in Kursk and the other half in the south. I think he's been split in half. I think he's been split in half this whole time. 'Cause they've Constantine, the drone pilots that Constantine has worked with in the past, that we've helped him do fundraisers for those guys before. Those guys who are working with Madhyar in this Pokrovsk area, and a few of the videos that Madhyar has put out contained footage from those drones that we helped fundraise. So that was cool. How long can Russia continue? I don't know, dude. It's hard to tell. Not forever. It's like the way I look at this situation is that Ukraine and Russia both have roughly the same amount of manpower, I think, when they started the war anyway. Because Russia can't send everybody to war because it would ruin their country. Like Putin said pretty clearly at the beginning of the war, there were 5 million men available, and any more than that is unacceptable. And since then, they've been using those 5 million men, and I think they've used around 2 million of them. That isn't to say they're all casualties, because a lot of the guys who started the war have left. Like they did their contract and went home, like a lot of them, and a lot of guys fled the country too. They like went to Georgia or Uzbekistan or Thailand or wherever. They like left. They fled. They're not in the country anymore. So those count against the total, and the people who are out count against the total, and the people who are currently fighting count against the total. So I think altogether they've used around 2 million guys, maybe closer to 3 million, somewhere between 2 and 3 million. So that would mean that Russia has used about half its men. So I don't know how many Ukraine has used, but I don't think it's as many as Russia. So kind of the way I think of it personally is that Russia, they both kind of started with the same amount of a resource, and Russia is using it up much faster, and Ukraine is using it slower. That's the way I think of it.
I think we were on a good track in terms of how long can Russia, last? There were clear signs that the Russian economy is going or beginning to show the its failure basically more clearly. Like pretty much everywhere you looked, you would see the economic downfall. But with the election, I'm worried because there are a lot of things which will make Russia be able to last at least 1 or 2 years longer, even if, in my opinion, it's almost inevitable that that country is going to have some serious troubles. But just 1 or 2 years longer can make a huge difference for what Ukraine can do.
Well, one really huge deciding factor on how long they can fight is the price of gas and oil. And if the price of gas and oil is high, they can fight longer, and if it's low, they fight less. And we know that one of the primary, geopolitical goals of this upcoming administration is to lower the price of gas and oil as much as they can. So that could be bad for Russia. Very bad. I don't know. I know that their economy is just not doing so good. And the Ukrainian economy is basically non-existent. But at the same time, Ukraine doesn't really need an economy because they're being propped up by Europe. And also parts of Asia are helping. So I don't know, it's not great. it's just not good. Both sides are. I mean, you're going into the third year of a war, right? And or it's the fourth year. I don't even know what year it is anymore. But anyways, we're going. This is pretty deep into a war. Like everyone is getting exhausted in different ways. Russia's having a harder time recruiting people, so they're having to boost up how much they pay people. Ukraine is having a harder time recruiting people. Everybody's kind of like running out of resources. But I think the biggest difference is the allies. So in one sense, the Russian allies are much more involved than Ukraine's allies, in that they are literally sending troops, they are sending huge amounts of ammo, and they seem more connected to the war than Ukraine's allies in some ways. But at the same time, it's kind of like iffy. Like, are they actually that supportive of Russia, or is the relationship much more transactional? Like, I'm really not sure how much Iran even supports Russia. North Korea, I think they're extracting value from Russia. Like, they're taking things from Russia and giving Russia very little in return. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I don't know. Erland, do you want to talk about the possible changes in Norway?
1 sec. Give me 10 seconds, okay?
Okay,
Or
I'll
20.
talk about Denmark first, because Denmark just gave a whole bunch of money to Ukraine, right? I cannot remember the exact the amount of money it was. Was it 600 million euros, I think? But this money is interesting to me because the money is going to the Ukrainian industry to invest in their companies. Like companies, I don't know which companies, to be honest. I don't know what the money's going to. But there are companies that produce armored vehicles. There are companies that make missiles and bombs and artillery ammo and mortars and all sorts of things. And drones. So there's all these companies that need investment. And the 600 million euros, I think that's how much it was, is going to that. It's not going to buying things. Like, they're not giving like $600 million to buy ammo or to buy tanks. It's 600 million investment into the companies. So, Airlines, are you back?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I was in the transitioning from mobile to PC. Yeah, so the Danish model is also why and also possibly how next year's aid from Norway is going to be modeled after, and why one of the reasons why potentially it will be a lot higher next year. So it's there's been a lot of misinformation about the Norwegian aid as well, and as a Norwegian, I want to say I'm embarrassed that we didn't help more. On another point, we are one of the nations that gave most in terms of proportionate amount from our GDP. Still, we should give a lot more since we have some sort of moral and ethical obligation to give more for two reasons. One, we don't need to take up loans because we have a very, very big sovereign wealth fund, which I think is about 19,000 billion kroners right now. That's about $1,900 billion. A lot of the reasons for why it grew a lot is because of the war. Just before the full-scale invasion, the oil and gas prices in Europe skyrocketed because Russia was turning off the gas to Germany and saying, we have technical problems and more maintenance than normal, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is that they would try to push the gas prices up before the war to kind of make a little bit of an issue with political crisis, etc. in Germany, Poland, pushing for more splitting kind of converse in politics. That was probably the tactic. What happened was that Norway started gaining enormous amounts of money already in May, June 2022 because Germany started saying, no, we're not going to buy more gas from you. We're going to buy more from Norway. And same with Poland, same with the UK. And officially, Norway, according to the finance department in our ministry in Norway, we earned in 2022 and 2023 something like 1,300 billion kroners more to our sovereign wealth fund. So that's the money that is being taken from the taxes on the profits from the oil and gas companies. So it's not the total earning because there's a lot more money being left in the economy as well. That's what we saved in our piggy bank. More than projected because of the war. I think the real number is probably higher, but the Ministry of Finance, of course, want to be conservative here. So that's kind of the reasoning for why Norway should give extra, a lot more than other countries proportionally. Last year we gave 27 billion kroners, or this year, I mean. But in the budget, the government had set aside 15 billion, and then they gave extra amounts several times during the year, and ended up at about 27 billion. So a lot of different lobbying organizations have been working to increase this amount to kind of mirror the fact that we earn money and other countries in Europe are giving more proportionately from depending on GDP than we are. And we say we should give most depending on the GDP because we are earning more money on this war than anyone else. And kind of a breakthrough happened this week after the Conservatives finally came out with a proposal. They are a new proposal. They are in opposition, but it's important to remember that the government is a minority government supported by a party called the Social Left Party, which is kind of a social democratic environmentalist party. They, together with liberals and the Greens, signed a letter 2 weeks ago demanding that the increase should be drastic and that the negotiations about aid to Ukraine should be taken away from the budget. So kind of a separate part of negotiations that isn't a part of the state budget. They got the majority of the parliament to sign onto that letter. And because the Conservative now proposed 45 billion as a minimum next year, it seems like that is going to be approved in Parliament. I know for a fact they have a majority for it. The only question is really if maybe someone is going to propose something even more and possibly get the Conservatives to vote for that. But I think 45 is going to be the floor next year. I think that was a little bit too long, but it's also very complicated.
Yeah. So this money would go towards the same sort of things, like investing in industry, right?
So I think the 15 billion that was budgeted from the government is probably going to be mostly spent in Norway, because that's basically what we can deliver from Nammo, which is a munitions factory, and Kongsberg. That's basically what the output can be for Ukraine in the order book. The order book is already complete. Like, they know what's going to be delivered next year. The rest is probably going to be mostly after the Danish model, but also probably something like, Czech initiative and other things like that. We also invest in a UK-led defense fund for Ukraine. I think we gave something like $1 billion to that over the 2 last years. So yeah, the increased amount is probably all going to be spent outside Norway.
Nice. So yeah, and I put up the conversion to dollars while you were talking.
Good.
Or at least
it's also problematic to just state it in dollars, because the Norwegian kroner is incredibly unstable, also because of this drastic amount of influx of money that we have because of the war. Like, the central bank just can't cope with it. So our currency has been trash the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed, because I've looked it up not that frequently, like maybe every 4 to 5 months. And every time I've looked it up, it's been dramatically different. It's like it's gone from like 13 to 11 or something.
Yeah, it's better now than it was like 2 months ago, but it's trash. So yeah, spending more money outside Norway might actually help that. There's been some good economists saying Norway should actually spend 300 billion kroners in military aid for Ukraine right now. Also, by the way, the effects on the economy or the currency are going to be stabilizing. I don't know if it's just a mind trick for the people in the finance department to sign off on it, but yeah.
If we give away all of our money, it'll stabilize the currency.
They had some fancy explanations for it.
I mean, I can see why it's true. It's just funny. It's just funny.
Like, more spending in Europe would cause this, that, I don't know. Some finance model that they used. Probably another model would tell them the opposite, so
yeah.
I don't know.
People in the chat are giving Norway tips on how to invest their money too. So that's useful. You can look into that later.
You know, I don't think we need that. I'm not so happy about our Ukraine support, but the way we manage our money is probably like no one is close. The sovereign wealth fund is incredibly effective. Like they
Yeah.
they know how to invest long term and gain huge
It's like
profits.
because they like went out and hired like people who actually know how to invest money,
Yeah,
and it's like
and they
it's like balancing, long-term growth and short-term risk, and also the wealth fund is so gigantic that you have to like constantly think like if you're going to like hurt the economy, or if you're going to steer the economy in a direction, and like what direction you want to steer it in, because it's so much money that it influences the entire world economy.
yeah.
So and they're just like investing it in like random stuff, and you have to like be careful, like you don't want to invest in the wrong sorts of companies because you can make those companies grow too much, and it can have adverse effects on the world. Like you don't want to like create weird monopolies, or funnel money into bad people. So it's complicated. It's not just about growing, it's responsibility in controlling that much money.
Yeah. So one of the good things about the workplace, which is the sovereign Norwegian wealth fund, is that they give good salaries and long-term contracts, and they attract a lot of people who got exhausted in different stock exchanges around the world on terrible internships where they were promised, the heavens and probably got maybe some crazy bonuses every now and then, but were mainly exhausted. But in the Sovereign Norwegian Wealth Fund, you work 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, and you get your 25 days of holiday and probably not a lot of overtime, but a good pay. So stable income. And they have offices all around the world. So it's a really good model. I wish, though, that they did like a separate fund just for Ukraine, where not about military aid, but about investment, because that would actually do wonders, in my opinion, for Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we had a conversation a little while ago about how much money it would take just investing, not like buying things, but like investing. How much money you would need to invest to basically get as many drones as you wanted. And that was an interesting conversation. But it was a lot of money. But actually, it wasn't even that much money. It was less money than I thought it would be to get all the drones you wanted just from in like the dividend payments and stuff. But anyways, I don't know. Gick, is there any other news you want to talk about?
Well, I can talk about my new favorite video.
Okay.
Did you watch the Oh yeah, you had to watch it because you needed to check if my lost definition was correct. But the video from 33rd Mechanized Brigade yesterday, the Leopard 2A4, that video was really good. Like, I think it was the first time that we saw like more or less complete combat footage of a Leopard. Even though the Leopard isn't always visible, you can pretty clearly see that it's what's firing at Russian vehicles. So you have actually one tank against an armored column, and it destroys several vehicles, which is really interesting and really cool to see. Also because 33rd didn't have the best reputation, to be honest.
Yeah, they lost a lot of Leopards, and I don't
To
know how
Ukraine.
many they lost to combat, but they sure did drive a whole bunch of them into holes in the ground.
Yeah, it's the Crater Brigade.
They have so many in the craters. But yeah, when you watch the video, I don't know if you noticed this, but I did. You could tell it's not a Soviet tank.
Joe
Oh god.
Biden, wake up.
Okay. Uh,
Kelly arrived.
You know, this is what you get when you do the stream from the wrong server.
I'm okay with it. The you could tell it wasn't a Soviet tank just by watching it because it was reloading really fast. Like a Soviet tanks reload so slow because they have an auto loader. That tank, they were shoving ammo and shooting it as fast as possible. It was like bang, 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 bang. It was crazy. That thing was reloading.
Yeah. And like there's a stretch of like 800 meters or so where the Leopard gets 3 hits on a Russian tracked assault shed or tracked garden shed until it finally, in my opinion, definitely destroyed it. So yeah, I mean, you know, for that you know amount of distance covered by the Russian vehicle, 3 shots, in my opinion, was pretty decent, and all of the 3 hit. So it might have been that there was a 4th shot which didn't hit. But yeah, in my opinion, that was a commercial for the tank. Finally, since you know most of what we saw was them in craters or after they were destroyed. But this, if I remember correctly, is the first really good footage of a Leopard actually demolishing a Russian assault.
There was another video recently of a Leopard.
Oh yeah. But that was more like towards tree lines, wasn't it?
It destroyed, I think, 2 BTRs.
Oh yeah, but those were already abandoned. Those were stationary.
You know what? It did its best. It doesn't get to choose who it attacks, okay?
Yeah, but you know, it's different if you shoot at a stationary thing or if you shoot at a driving thing, in my opinion. And there it did really good. Yeah. There's also just as a KV, the Russians today publish footage of showing civilians go into a house, and then it's a cutscene, and then the Leopard stands next to the house and firing into the house. So this is out there. Like you first of all, you can't really tell the order of things. Were they really arriving or were they preparing to leave from that house? Were they just is it some sort of evacuation which was filmed 2 days ago, and then yesterday the tank arrived after the Russians went into the town? So you can't really say. It's just that someone will geolocate that. Someone will say, "Oh yeah, Ukrainian tank is shooting at civilians," but it's like you can't tell from that video, and it's very likely not the case.
Yeah. It's worrying to me how small this little neck is now. It's only 4 kilometers. It's getting like. I mean, Ukraine has to withdraw from everything here, right? Like everything. It's not even in artillery range anymore. Like Ukraine has positions outside of artillery range, so they have to withdraw everything. Like they just have to. Like Ilinka. Well, maybe this whole area. It's all gonna. I think this is all gonna go in the next day or two.
Can you tell us what you're showing, because you're not streaming it to us?
Oh, you can't see it? It's just that whole area there, south. Here, I'll show you.
So you're showing us. Okay.
Well, I'll show you. I just never click the buttons. Here, okay.
Yeah.
All of these towns, they're all gonna go. Ilinka, Romanivka, Kanivka, it's all gonna go. Maybe they'll hold on to Uspanivka. Maybe Constantin. This is so many syllables. Why are there so many syllables? Konstantinopolska? Whatever. Too many syllables.
On translation, the AI bot, it always tells us it's Constantinople, which I find really interesting because Russia attacking Istanbul would be quite the thing.
Yeah. So we have a question about the dam. I honestly don't know who blew up the dam. It kind of makes sense for neither side to blow up. For Ukraine, it doesn't hurt Russia now. It might hurt Russia in a week, but it doesn't hurt them now. So I don't really understand why Ukraine would blow it up. But basically, the dam is here, and it's this enormous reservoir is all behind this dam. It's a really gigantic reservoir. So it's this reservoir, and it's this dam here, and all of the water is going to flow west downstream. So it's gonna go boop 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 all over here. So basically, this whole lowlands here will be flooded. So you would say like that kind of helps Russia, right? The problem with that is that Ukraine has always known that this dam is going to blow up. They've always known that. And you would imagine they would have planned around it. Like, if you had any brains at all, you would plan around the thing you knew was going to blow up is going to blow up at some point. Russia loves blowing up dams. They've blown up tons of dams. They've blown up like every dam here. Anyway, so so they had to have planned around it at some point, like you'd think. But also like Russia. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. The only way that I can reconcile this being blown up now is that Russia wants to continue attacking west after they capture Kurahova. They want to continue going. They're afraid Ukraine will blow up the dam later, so they blew it up now so that it will leak and dry out by the time they get there. But I don't think it will dry out in time, personally, because it's like rainy, and it's already like wet ground. They're just dumping water on top of wet ground. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me, to be honest. But it's this dam here. Both sides say the other side blew it up. What do you think?
Well, from a splitting defending forces in two sides, I would say, it's currently benefiting Russia more, certainly.
Maybe. Well,
and besides that,
definitely not benefiting Ukraine currently.
Yeah. And the next thing you said is you would expect that Ukraine planned around it. We've seen locations where, it was evident that they will need roads for years and no roads were built. So I'm hesitant, as to allow that as an argument.
It's fair. But to be fair, if Russia did not blow up this dam, Ukraine would have blown it up. There was a 0% chance this dam was going to survive. This dam had like maybe 2 more weeks in it.
I mean, the next thing is that, your map or the map might currently not portray the real picture. Because, the Russian presence in Zontsivka, or what it's called, or Sontsivka, I think, that's already been there for a week or so, Yeah. It might as well be that they have reached way further south from there and are already threatening the dam, and Ukraine still needs to retreat their forces from Kurakove, which, in my opinion, is already evident that, it's inevitable. And that being said, having Russians come over the dam right now might be a very bad point or very bad moment. So it could be that the Russians are simply, have already consolidated up there and are further south than what is shown on the map.
Yeah, I do not think at all that they moved through Sontsivka. We've had no evidence of that. What we've heard is that they were on the eastern outskirts and controlled a little bit of the east. So they might be like here. But what I could see happen is that we know that they reached this rail line here. And if they reached that rail line, they may have just dumped infantry down the choo-choo train ladder, and they could be like here maybe if you go down the choo-choo train ladder, you know. So and then that would be really bad. I could see that angle being more likely than this one. So either way, it's all terrible. It's all terrible. Ukraine's gonna withdraw from everything. They're leaving. It's over. Game over. And it's bad too, because this was supposed to be their stronghold. That's what's so disappointing. Is that this was the Citadel that Ukraine was. Ukraine was like, it doesn't like ever. No matter how bad everything goes, this is our Citadel. We can defend this forever, and they just lost it all. That's the disaster, man. Sounds good. Yeah, I briefly talked about this attack north towards Novodarivka and Rifnapil. We don't really have much information about it other than we know it happens. We know that they moved about 2 kilometers, and it's all being bad. Everything's bad. It's weird. It's weird. The whole situation is weird because, in one hand, Europe is investing in the long-term future of Ukraine. They're making investments they'll take probably at minimum 2 years to get any benefit from. But simultaneously, Ukraine is falling apart. It's bizarre. Like, these investments should have been like 2 years ago.
The thing is that those kind of investments are needed for the long term, and they should definitely be there. And it's like if they don't even think about what is needed now. And it's really disappointing. And it's been like this for so long, except in the beginning a little bit when a few countries had a lot of stocks that they could send, like a lot of things in stock that was decommissioned or this wasn't being used because they had disabled or disbanded brigades. In the beginning, there were a few countries that could send aid that was immediately put into action and actually helped a lot. But then when that finished, it seemed like they were all, with the head inside the sand and just looking on everything long term strategically and didn't kind of look at the operational needs. And it has to change. I hope that the election in the US is kind of where it changes for Europe, but it's gonna be hard to drag the rest of Europe with us, because there are countries that invest enough. It's just Spain. They're not giving anything.
I gave up. We give up on Spain. Okay, we give up on Spain.
Yeah, but we need the big countries in Europe to spend a lot. Or else it's gonna be
but like
Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. How's that gonna go?
Do you really think Spain's gonna do anything?
No, I don't.
Like if I made a list of every country in the universe, like every country, not even counting Earth, like all the countries everywhere, like even on the planets we've never heard of, I would put Spain as last in likelihood of helping anybody, especially Ukraine.
It would have to be forced through the EU.
Yeah, I mean, they're helping through the EU. I mean, and that's like the benefit of the EU, I guess. But Spain on itself, they gave a few tanks. It's like that was a miracle, okay? And like what was it? Like the Queen, she gave her like royal artillery or whatever.
I think that was Denmark. But yeah.
That was Spain. I thought it was Spain. Oh, I don't even care, to be honest. But I thought it was Spain. But anyways, That's all you're getting. Sorry, it's Spain. The better conversation is Italy. What is Italy doing?
It seems like since the G7, a few things happened. Definitely, they were talking about this new SAMP-T battery for a year and said, "Yeah, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming in January, it's coming in March, it's coming in April," and then Meloni gave a promise at the G7 meeting, which was in Italy, and it's been apparently delivered. The last official message from anyone was that it is being transferred into Ukraine these days. That was from the Italian government, and since then no one has heard anything about it, but officially. So that's good. So, you know, SAMP-T battery is good. Problem is that they also have not invested in anything related to munitions that Ukraine could get.
It's crazy that like all of the countries in Europe that have like arms industries, like big ones, other than Switzerland, but you know, they're like rolling in contracts right now. Like they don't even like they have so many contracts they don't know what to do with them all. I like do is Italy getting anything? Like
Oh yeah. So the thing is, it's kind of funny. There is a big factory in Rome, which is owned by Rheinmetall.
they don't count.
Italy,
Doesn't count. If it's owned by
yeah,
Rheinmetall,
but
it doesn't count.
yeah, well, but the thing is, Italy could have invested in that
Yeah.
factory, and maybe made sure that they could expand it. But no, they made sure they couldn't expand. But that's an important factory, and it's delivering the Skynex system to Ukraine. It's a very important thing. And then they have a very, very high-tech munitions plant in Sardinia, which are making those insane artillery rounds. What's the name again? The 100+ kilometer one that can only be fired from the Panzerhaubitze. That's also
Volcano.
Yeah, Volcano. Yeah, so that's also paid for by Germany, and they wanted to expand.
That's why none of
line.
this counts. This is why it doesn't count because it's paid for by Germany.
Yeah, I'm just telling the story here, and they wanted to expand it, and the local government blocked it, and the central government didn't do anything to force the local government to allow the expansion. So they're basically saying like no to free money. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, they must be so angry too. Like the owners of the factories are like, come on, everybody gets free money but us. It's not fair. And Switzerland is like in the same boat. Switzerland, but that's for they're Swiss. It's different. But I don't want to talk about Switzerland.
You have the same situation in Spain, by the way. Germany is paying for all the stuff that is being delivered from Spain now.
Yeah, that's why we write off Spain. They always stay out. It's like it's not a new thing. They've stayed out for like 100 years, you know.
Well, they helped Germany during World War II.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what else to talk about. Do you guys want to talk about anything else, or should I just like end the stream? Because I just started the stream like on a whim. I had no plan. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I just clicked like go, and I could just click stop.
You saw the spreadsheet and decided now is the time to have a stream.
Yes.
200 open videos. Let's have a stream.
Oh god, there's 200. Well, when I started, there were only 130. So.
Well, it's not that much more, but the rest is in the bot, and I didn't put it yet.
There's more. No.
Okay. Yeah, we're screwed.
Well, Parabellum is here. Parabellum is in the comments. He's a very good OSINT streamer, actually.
Hello.
Yes, so that's true. Yeah, the factory in Sardinia that makes artillery shells, it's basically being blocked by environmental bureaucracy. I'm sure that Meloni could have fixed that. They didn't manage to do the whole Albanian concentration camp thing, but yeah, forget what I said.
Is there anything a civilian can do? That's the question. And it's not regarding Italy. It's just in general.
Take contact with your local human rights group and send them the articles of Brandon. I think that's a start.
Yeah.
I think also what I said earlier, get politicians to spend one day with us watching those videos. I think most of them would send a lot of aid immediately.
Yep. We publish Russian sleepyheads. We don't do Ukrainian sleepyheads, but they fall asleep too. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. And it's not pretty. And the Russians celebrate it. Like the amount of, civilian property damage as well as civilians killed you find every day in Telegram, the amount of clear disregard for anything that is, human, it makes you wake up. And maybe more politicians shouldn't be able to hide. So open invite to any politician. Just join us here for one day, see what we see, and get your shit together.
Yep. They can help us break down videos. Imagine that.
We still need people to break down videos. If anyone is willing, please apply.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. And it's like a growing.
Andrew, did she show how our tool works? You should show it actually. Because it's actually making it a lot, pretty cool. Like a game.
Someone quacked.
I think the the video with the counter is perfect if you want to get blocked on YouTube. The one from yesterday. The acid one.
What?
The one that is counting all the sleepy people.
Oh yeah, we're not showing the sleepy people. I need to if I'm gonna show it, I need to like pre-watch the video, okay? Maybe there's like there's always like a propaganda video, right?
Yeah, there is one.
We have a video of 120 sleeping Russians.
You can also
It's
use...
not brutal at all.
You should use the one of the
Ellie.
You should use one of the videos for the anti-air drone videos.
I just want to show a propaganda video. Where's a nice one?
You can use...
Oh, there's this video that you called "Why is this video here?" That's probably innocent, right?
Yeah, that's innocent. That's commercial.
It's a commercial. Okay. So...
And just to highlight, you don't need to install Telegram anymore. I know there are a lot of geolocators out there which don't have or don't want to use Telegram, but wait for someone to publish footage on Twitter. Here's your chance to ruin your life because you can watch every video now, or almost every video now, without having to install Telegram. So if you're looking,
This is a new feature that I didn't know was here. This is Constanza. Did you add this today, where it autofills the title?
No, I put it there earlier. I still use it even if the video is
okay.
nonsense. I still used it. The bot.
Okay, so this is our tool that Constanza made, and so you can, what I do is I just kind of like scroll through the video, and you can there's keybinds for this, but just click the button. You can add a thing, so you can write like cool drone, bro, right? You can write that, and then there's all these other things that you can't see because I use this on a very large monitor, and right now I have to make it small for YouTube to make it have higher res so you can read it easier. But here in this box you can type coordinates, and right here we can take screenshots of the video, so it goes to our screenshot thing, and then these are some data you can enter, and then here's the text that you would see on the map, and then this is if there's a vehicle, you'd put that, and we mark targets for drones, so we can track how drones are used over time. And so yeah, and as you watch the video, you can just add more markers. If you're brave, you can just add them as the video goes, and it will autofill. So like for example, like I'll pretend this is an actual event, right? So I'll say like it's like Ukrainian drone attack, right?
You don't need to type that. Just change to drone, and then
Yeah,
it will already
okay,
autofill.
Okay, fine. I'll do the thing.
Show them how cool Constanza made it.
I'll do the thing. See, you do that, and then I'll do like it's a FPV drone, right? So you just click F, and it refills the thing, and then like as the video goes, if you imagine this is actually a video where drones are attacking, like every time you see a drone, you can fill the thing. I didn't fill a target, so it would be like a dugout, right? So like the night, oh, I hit another dugout in our pretend video. So that's how the thing works, and you can go through, and especially long videos, especially monotonous videos where the same thing happens over and over again, you can track all of the events, and goes boop boop boop, and if you need to take a screenshot, you click the screenshot button, or you can press Control S, and that's the tool. So this is how we break down the videos. So these big videos into the parts of the video that we care about and what we track, and then we do this for every single video, except videos like this, because it's a propaganda video. Look at the little stabby spikes it has. Look, oh, it hurt the ground. So that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So especially geolocators which don't want to rely on using Telegram, you can use this if you want to work with us. Basically, we have a spreadsheet where all links are in, and then we sort them by the easiness of geolocating them. And the issue we have right now is that we have so much content in the sheet that our geolocators, including me, you don't even get to watch some of the footage to put the coordinates in. So if you're only interested in doing whatever you want to do each day, yeah, you can just contact us, and then we will see. That's exactly what the spreadsheet is. You see that all of the brownish thingies, they are not yet broken down into segments.
That's how much work we have to do. All the brown is work. So the way that we have it in a spreadsheet is this column tells you how long the video is, and where it is roughly. This is the coordinate column. So when you analyze the video, and if you geolocate it, you would put the coordinates in this column, but we double use the column to hold this information for videos we haven't watched yet. And this over here is the link to the tool that I just showed you. So you click all the links and go to the tool. We host the videos, so you can just you don't need any Telegram to watch anything, and you can just kind of like work through all this stuff one at a time. Boom, boom, boom. Also, since we host the video, when the people delete the video on us, we still have it. Yoink. Yeah.
Also, just a quick addition: if you're European, you're really encouraged to join because all this work is mostly in European time, so
Oh, it doesn't really matter. If you're a geolocator, I want someone who does stuff during the night, because then everything is broken down and I wake up in the morning and I check and more was possible during the night. But every day I wake up, it means that there's a new day to worry about already. So
We need
Yeah.
Central Asian people and Australians.
yeah,
Really,
and a billionaire.
really, geolocators, I think, are the biggest thing. Because it would be nice to locate every video. You see, like recently, we've been locating around 27%, 28%. Yes, well, it says 28%, but I think more recently it's been like 24% probably. I'd like to boost that up to like 70. It's really hard to get above 70 because like videos just get really hard to locate after a while. Like if you do all the easy ones, like the hard ones are really hard. So, but like 70 would be nice. We used to do 70. What happened? What happened?
Well, more content and less less people to break down, I guess. But also more footage, which is technically geolocatable, but we don't rule because of that we don't rule it out. But it's really, really hard. So you need someone who who's really interested in solving riddles. Sometimes, if you see a tree line with some 2 or 3 details, and you don't know the front, it's definitely geolocatable, but you need to have the time to look, and
Yeah, and
none of us currently do.
what's really valuable are people who specialize in something. Like if you specialize in an area, like we have people who specialize in an area. We have people who specialize in one event. So like Artem just does interceptions. We have one guy who does Toretsk, right? And Hleboka. So if you want to specialize in an area, even if you don't know it already, you can learn it just by doing it. And I mean, we could give you a list of channels, or we could tell you just like which channels we follow. If you go into the spreadsheet, you want to specialize in an area, these 50 channels, not even, like maybe like these 5 channels do that area. You can scroll through. You say, oh, this is the channel I like, and then you could do that video and try to find it. And if we have multiple people specializing, like each one specializing in something, we can cover the whole front line. And then everybody only does like a handful of videos. And it's easier. And you get to stick to one thing that you know. You'll it's more fulfilling when you look at something, you say, I know where that is. It's very fulfilling. What do you think, Kik?
Yeah, I can only recommend it. And also because there are a lot of events which are very important to be documented. It's not only combat footage, it's also other events. You have destruction of, as I said earlier, civilian property. You have those kind of things which I find highly valuable, even if not for mapping the front line, but for documenting the war, for having responsibility to and also even like there's one unit which is drone dropping like basically the same place for the last week. Every day they release a video and it's more or less more of the same. But it was the first time we located it after a while. So even if you're only interested in the order of the battle, you will help people if you find something and you post about it on Twitter. You will help people understand where people or where units are. And while Andrew in the past said that he doesn't really care about it, which is correct from a certain if you look at the entire picture, it doesn't really matter that much. But if you look at individual front lines heating up on short term or something like that, or having clues about certain buildups, this can actually make a lot of difference.
So we got a question from Mirko, the streamer, the Italian streamer.
Okay.
And I think it's a good question. I posted it in the chat, but did you guys find any military sense in the Kursk adventure after all this time since the strategic objective, as claimed by Syrski, lure Russian forces from other fronts, didn't work? It's a long discussion, but I also posted 2 images that, if you want to show them, Andrew. I think the last one is probably better.
Okay.
Well,
you can also just do that on the map, I guess. But
yeah, this kind of question allows for really elaborate discussion over the course of several hours. Looking at at an equipment point of view, Ukraine has traded mostly AMRAPs against decent armored vehicles on the Russian side. It is looking like we're going to see Russian losses significantly not succeed, but how do you say, like, if they become more than Ukrainian losses, surpass? Yeah. We see Russian losses surpass Ukrainian losses. I'm pretty sure that Nalcio's next update will reflect that, if the last one didn't even yet.
I think if it's true that they lost 77 over like 5 days, I think that 77 puts Russia ahead, because I think Ukraine was ahead by like 30 or something.
Yeah. But also that is to say that even though the Russians, they deploy some MRAPs on their own, like the CSTS, Ahmad, and so on, and they lost quite a bunch of them, the majority of Russian vehicle losses are still BTRs, BMPs, and even tanks. They pretty sure they lost. No, it wasn't T90, but a T80 BBM. Also, Ukraine captured some of those vehicles, right? So it's actually not only a question about does it equal out, but also that in that moment Ukraine gets one more. So purely looking at the vehicle stats for a Ukrainian offensive, it looks like a net plus in that sense. Also, as said, the value of an AMRAP being considered as lower than a BTR and a BMP. From an overarching strategic perspective, there are certain events which have happened or which were ongoing during the Kursk offensive on a political level, which certainly puts this into a different perspective. But I don't know, Andrew, if you want to talk about the political level a bit.
I want to talk about the military level, because there's 2 things that I keep hearing people say that are wrong. They're completely wrong. People say that if Ukraine didn't attack Kursk, they would be able to move those forces to Pokrovsk. False. Russia was going to attack Sumy. And I know in the media, Ukraine was pretending that Russia wasn't going to attack Sumy. There was like a media campaign, like it was like a psyops type thing, where they were trying to convince people that Russia wasn't going to attack Sumy. But Russia was going to attack Sumy. And if Ukraine didn't attack, Russia would have attacked. And all of these forces would still be there. Okay, you could have a debate on whether it would be different forces. Maybe different brigades would be here. You could argue that, Ukraine has kind of elite brigades here, and they could have had those elite brigades in Pokrovsk, and then the lesser brigades here defending. But I don't think they could have defended with the weaker brigades, because second, Ukraine did not think they would be able to defend the attack. And that's critically important. They did not think they would be able to defend. They thought Russia would have broken through. So you have 2 points here. Russia was going to attack, and Ukraine didn't think they could defend it. So what do? Either you have to send the elite troops there to defend, or you have to attack. Those are Ukraine's only choices. And everyone who's trying to spin this into some nonsense about these troops would be better off in Pokrovsk are ignoring the realities of the war. The reality is Russia was going to attack, and Ukraine did not think they would be able to successfully defend it. So you have to analyze Kursk in that context.
I think there are also other elements which supports it. It's also on the military side exclusively. The forces that were spent, at least in the beginning of the operation in Kursk, had a very large effect compared to the amount of forces actually deployed there. Yes, there were very heavy losses that we have seen. And I think maybe they are, to some extent, they were more visible to us than what we see in the front lines of Donbass, right? So all those arguments about we shouldn't have done this because we should have defended the lines in Donbass, the war is being fought there. But in the end, I think there is a lot of personnel losses that we never really have a glance of from the Ukrainian side. While what we saw in the, let's say, the third week of Kursk and onwards, where it was a lot of material losses, of course, and a lot of graphic images of Ukrainian losses. And I think that has penetrated the minds of a lot of people who are watching this. But that is the reality all the time in Donetsk. It's just that we don't get to see it because the Russians aren't able to film it close up. They may be able to see it from a drone far away. And that's the difference. And I think that has changed the perception of how a lot of the people who analyze this look at things. What they should really think is that's every day along the front lines in Donbass, in my opinion. And I think that's also telling that they don't actually understand the war.
You hear the same stuff about Krinky. Same stuff, where people act like they say 1,000 casualties in Krinky. It's unacceptable. Okay, but it's 1,000 casualties over like 9 months. It's like it's not that many. Like if you look at anywhere else on the battlefield, like that's probably average, if not below average, casualties. Another point about Kursk versus Sumy, especially, is that in Sumy, they had prepared defenses. And in Kursk, they don't. So in Sumy, when you get shelled, especially early on, because Ukraine has been gradually digging into Kursk, but especially when they initially attacked, they had like no defenses at all. So when they were getting hit by these airstrikes, the airstrikes were doing a lot more damage because there was nothing to hide. Like they're hiding behind trees, basically. So you could see that defending these entrenched positions with bunkers that are pre-made bunkers, many are concrete, etc. So what did I do? I'm confused. Anyway, sorry. That would be better for the men, especially morale-wise, especially going into winter. Having no prepared positions in winter is not fun because you're gonna get cold. And when they hastily dig in, you might not know the terrain very well, and you might be digging into somewhere that's very bad to dig in. Like you might get your feet wet, They might have all sorts of problems. So morale-wise, especially combined with the disaster in South Donetsk, which is bad for morale. You hear soldiers talk about this constantly, where they would rather be fighting in South Donetsk than fighting in Kursk, because South Donetsk matters more to them personally, which is fair. I understand that, and especially without good positions. So there's a lot of morale things here, but the question is military value. Um, the military value of the situation, I think, is much less valuable than the political value. Um, we had a lot of rumors, and I believe they're true, that Ukraine and Russia were entering a negotiation on whether or not to continue hitting each other's energy. So basically, the deal would be that if Ukraine stops hitting Russia's oil and gas, then Russia will stop hitting Ukraine's power. So this would be something that would benefit both sides. But the problem is that Ukraine was going into this negotiation on a very bad situation because they had just lost Avdiivka, the south is collapsing, Pokrovsk is collapsing, like everything is bad. Um, so they're entering these negotiations in a very bad situation, and there were a lot of rumors that European countries were pressuring Ukraine to accept Russia's terms, and there were some rumors that the deal was imminent. So I don't know if all those rumors are true. I believe they are true personally, but I don't actually know they're true. So, given that, it's possible that this attack could have reset those negotiations because when Ukraine attacked, Putin basically called off any negotiations. Well, first they denied there were ever going to be negotiations, and then he said that there would never be negotiations while any Ukrainian was in Kursk. He set like a deadline for when Ukraine had to leave Kursk. The deadline came and went. And then they like waited a few weeks, and then they like formally announced negotiations. So apparently they're now negotiating again, even though Ukraine is still in Kursk. So, and then of course Putin set another deadline for when Ukraine had to leave. So I think politically it's valuable for that in that sense. I think militarily it was valuable because it stopped Russia from attacking Sumy, where Ukraine didn't think they would be able to defend. I think going forward, I think this attack, if Ukraine is kicked out of Kursk, I think Russia will keep attacking into Sumy. I think they'll continue their attack, and I think that their primary, like their initial goal would be to build a buffer zone between Ukraine and Russia, and so that would be like their primary goal, and the secondary goal would be to continue pushing beyond that buffer zone into Ukraine. So that's kind of what I think the future is of this. If Ukraine loses Kursk, which they probably will at some point, but I don't think they're going to like tomorrow or anything. I think it's actually going to take a while.
The thing is, I think it's also important to acknowledge that there's been a lot of operational failures from Ukraine, as you and Geek talked about when Geek came. But that has definitely tipped things towards the negative for Ukraine. But on the other hand, I think the people that analyze this tend to just look at a couple of different subjects, and they ignore the fact that Ukraine must have had a whole lot of operational goals with this operation, not just the political, not just the military part. And I think that most of the people that look at it miss out on most of them, and we don't know what Ukraine had in mind when they went there. We just know what Sirski said and what Zelensky said, and there are two different things, which makes me think they don't want to really state the full intention with the whole operation, which is good. If you can go back down to or a little south down to Vovchansk, because I think Ukraine learned something here when the Russians attacked there, and you could read everywhere Ukrainians saying, yeah, the defenses weren't properly prepared. We couldn't man the defensive lines because we just don't really have enough people to man all the border with Russia with proper combat units. That's basically where I think Ukraine learned a lesson, because if you're right and Russia was actually going to attack in Sumy, Ukraine knew that we don't know exactly where and we don't know exactly when, and we can't spend our forces sitting in a trench, the real combat forces that actually are able to defend a real assault, not just fend off an incursion. We can't really expend those sitting in the trench all along the border. So we have to do something. And I think that also was a part of the equation, because Ukraine has been expending enormous amount of combat power just to regain the territories that they have regained, right? And it's not that much even.
Yeah. And this is after Russia has more or less given up on attacking.
Yeah.
Especially in the western part. In the eastern part, they still kind of attack, but they're not actively pushing out anymore. They just kind of like sat down in their lawn chairs and called it a day. There are potentially good things too. They're coming from this. Out of the failures, there could be good things. But I'll let you finish.
No, I just say, like, if you remember all the destruction, all the people that had to be evacuated, which probably will never get their homes back. This is a part of the equation as well. And the war or the invasion that happened in Vovchansk is very different from the invasion that happened in 24th of February 2022 when it comes to the destructiveness of each place the Russians move into. It's a total different war.
So there are two things that people call mistakes that involve Kursk. First is that in Kursk, you had a lot of these failures that Ukraine had. Over here, you had they kind of like marched their BTRs into an ambush over here, and then again like up there, whatever, I can't remember exactly, or it's like whatever, I can't remember exactly where it was. But they marching their dudes into ambushes, kind of left and right, and then there's these failed assaults on Vesele and towards Glishkovo in general. So these failed assaults here by what was it, like the 82nd and the 42nd or 47th and whatever. So these
21st and 47th, I think.
Okay, so anyway, all these assaults failed. These assaults over here, the ambushing and etc., really high casualties, unfortunately. These are things I hope Ukraine can learn from, because a lot of this came from lack of communication, and Ukraine needs to communicate. Like, they have to. So anyway, I'm not going to get into that any further. But these are lessons that I hope they can learn from, especially the 47th. They need to get better. But anyways, this is one lesson. The other lesson is that, especially with the 47th, I think the 47th is the brigade that really needs to learn the most. But But when they took the 47th out, they replaced them. I can't remember what brigade it was, but they replaced them with a brigade that was like basically brand new. And that brigade did very badly. But every fresh brigade, like every time you make a new brigade, when you send them into combat, you kind of expect them to do very badly. That's just kind of like the way it is, right? You have to like learn. The officers need to learn to work together. The guys need to get experience. Like everything, like it takes time and effort and experience to have an effective fighting force. So I hope, and that wasn't the only new brigade they sent here. A lot of these brigades were brand new. I hope that this combat experience that these new brigades got, even though they suffered like really bad casualties, but I hope they take that combat experience and make a better brigade out of it. And I hope that the brigades that Ukraine used to attack with up here, which was what, like the what were they, like 92nd, the 21st, and the 47th? Is that where it is? Anyway, I hope they all learn from these mistakes. I think that's kind of like the positive here. Is that these units are getting experience, even if everything goes wrong. It's still experience that they learn from. Hopefully. Hopefully I don't just make the same mistake over and over again. But if you're being optimistic, they sent, I don't know how many brigades it was that were brand new, basically very low combat experience brigades. They sent them all into combat at roughly the same time, and they all got creamed, and they all lost a ton of ground. But if all of those brigades learn and adapt and get good all at roughly the same time, that could be a big bonus to the military, don't you think?
I think one good learning experience, which might come in handy, is how to operate without Starlink.
Yeah.
Because that was apparently a big challenge for them.
You gotta communicate by carrier pigeon.
Oh yeah, I mean there's quite a lot of unknowns out there right now, uncertainties with the US government. In the light of that, Boris Johnson, who's completely not responsible for anything anymore, so he has no say in it, but he at least just announced that if the US cuts funding, the UK needs to send troops. So we have him on our side, I guess. Go UK.
I've seen a picture of him with a combat vest once. It didn't impress.
I saw a picture of him flying a fighter jet and firing storm shadows.
I mean, the question is, what would any Western ally actually need to send in order for, to turn the tide? Is it ground troops? Is it, securing the western part of Ukraine and freeing up, Ukrainian resources? Is it enough to have no feet on the ground, but instead, have some, wings in the air? I don't know. But the discussion about it, sooner or later, it will become inevitable.
NATO doctrine is based around joint fires, and
we need air supremacy.
Yeah, and NATO can do that. There is no question about it. Will NATO lose some jets if they fly into Donbass and to establish air supremacy? Yes.
Which planes are you going to be flying? Because that determines the answer.
Yeah, I would assume it would be a combination of 4th gen and some 5th gen, if that would ever happen.
Because I feel like the 5th gen planes could do a lot.
I think 5th gen planes could probably do a lot on their own, but just knowing how NATO works and military forces work, they would probably have Air Force generals forcing the use of some of the 4th gen planes that are in the inventory because that's the force they've trained with, blah blah blah.
Yeah, you
So-
could use them. You can
Yeah.
use them after the 5th gen do their job
Yeah.
of destroying everything first.
Yeah.
Shooting
I
down
mean,
all the planes.
Even a typhoon with a meteor will make a huge difference. Like meteors in general. And
Ukraine doesn't need air supremacy, in my opinion, to win this war. But yes, a typhoon with a meteor or a Gripen with the meteor would do wonders.
The thing that Ukraine needs more than anything, what they need is for the West to show the Ukrainian people that they actually want to win the war. Because the morale of the Ukrainian people is awful. And just telling the people in a way that the people understand, not with words, with actions, deeds, that the West is serious about actually winning the war would fundamentally change the tide of this war.
Yeah, I agree. And you don't need to send combat planes
No,
into this combat zones.
You don't.
You can just have them roam around 300 kilometers behind the front lines,
I
or
mean,
even 500 kilometers behind the front lines.
to do what I'm saying, you don't even have to do that. Just doing something serious, like actually something other than talking and other than sanctions. Like doing something like legit. Yeah. Anyways, I think we've gone on long enough. I think I should stop
Yeah,
the stream now.
There are lots of trolls in the chat now, so
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so it was nice talking to everybody. I'm gonna stop now. I'll play the love song first, and then we'll go. So goodbye.
not the piñata.
No love.
Okay.
Everybody wants the love. Everybody comes for the love song.
yeah, talking about loaves, Andrew, just one remark. People are mocking us already because we're the only ones who really care about loaves. And apparently the Magyar video, every armored vehicle is known, but the loaves aren't. So we're being mocked.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I realized that a vehicle that we assumed was just a loaf is actually a manufactured, purpose-built vehicle. And the vehicle is so funny. It's a loaf with an antenna on top. And it entered production in the year 2021. I'll show you a picture. I'll show you. I'll get the picture real fast. Where did I put it? I just can't believe this vehicle entered production in the year 2021. It tickles me so much. Give me a second.
Maybe we should add how we could be contacted if somebody wants to help.
Oh, yeah.
It's Erlen's job.
This is the loaf. This is their brand new cutting edge military technology. Hot off the presses from 2021. Yeah. Anyway. We've seen this gig. Anyways, so if you like to contact us, I will put a link in the thingy in the description. But basically, you can go to this. You can go to Touchny, and you can join our basement, and then you can fill in this thing, and then it goes to Ireland, and then Ireland deals with it in the ways that he does. I'll put a link in the description.
Is the phone number needed?
No, it's just
Like any way you want us to contact him? You.
you absolutely have to put your email, or else there's no. I think you get like an error if you don't put your email.
So I put a link to that in the description. So anyways, I'm gonna play a loaf song now. Goodbye.
Right.
Welcome to the perpetual show. Where the loaves go, we've got flow. Oh yeah. Driving through the fields of green, oh so bright. With the loaf by your side, everything feels right. Loafing through the fields, feeling so alive. In our boxy Russian van, we're taking our stride. Past the fallen soldiers, a bittersweet sight. But we're cruising on this road tonight. Bouncing to the rhythm, calypso in our soul. The loaf's engine purring as our story unfolds. We're singing and we're dancing, the sun shining above. The loaf takes us